with respect to the economy. The fundamentals of our economy, what are they? What are the fundamentals of our economy? What are the fundamentals of the American economic system? The capitalist system is the fundamental structure of the American economy. That's what makes this country different from the other ones. The capitalist system. A system where you can earn according to your efforts, or your intelligence, or your work ethic, or some combination thereof. Yes, there are going to be variables introduced such as who you know, family you were born into. Not everybody starts off at the same point. That's a fact. That's a fact anywhere. But in this country, you have the opportunity to succeed. You also have the opportunity to fail. In this country, you have a choice to do something with those two options. You can succeed or you can fail based on your efforts, your intellect, your ambition, your drive, your determination, your work ethic. We don't place limitations on potential in this country. Now, granted, if you're born into an inner city ghetto, your options are somewhat limited, but we have had people in this country come from that background and come out with tremendous success. Don't think that your being in that environment limits you. It does make it more difficult, and it does introduce challenges. You're probably not going to have access to the same level of education as some other people, but that doesn't mean you can't make the best of the education level that you have available to you. Something we seem to have lost sight of in this country is what are the core functions of government? What are the bare minimum essentials that we need to run a country? Certain government functions, obviously, we're going to need. We need legislators, judges, executives, etc. Police is a critical function of government to keep people from interfering with each other, to keep person A from interfering with person B and their life, their liberty, and their pursuit of happiness. Certain protectional measures, fire stations, a military, etc., to keep the country safe, to keep people safe in the country. Redistribution of wealth, that may be a core government principle in other societies, a communist society, a Marxist society, a socialist society. That may be their core government function. We don't live in that type of society. If you want that type of society, it's available to you. You can go someplace and get it. Not here. This is a free capitalist society where you get what you earn. If you're aggressive, you get a lot. Unfortunately, also, if you're not so aggressive and you happen to have connections or family, you get a lot that way too. However, you're not limited on what you can accomplish in this country. I don't understand why so many people are afraid of the word communism. Seriously, that's what they're advocating. The root word of the word communism is common. Goods or services held in common. That's what communism is. And if that's what you want, say it. Say you want a communist society. It's not an evil word. It's not a bad word. I happen to disagree with it, and I don't want to live in a communist society. But if what you're advocating is that everyone should be taxed to a ridiculous amount, I'm paying, I think, 28% of my income. Every hour I work on Monday and part of what I work on Tuesday goes to nothing but taxation. If that is what you want, where people get taxed so that you can dish out benefits, then that is communism. That's the definition of the word. Don't run from it, just accept it. And if you want to advocate communism, say it. There's a lot of negative connotations to it, and a lot of people don't like it, but it happens to be the truth. Be honest about what you're talking about. If you're advocating communism, say you're advocating communism. It's not hard. Hillary Clinton once said in an interview, "We're going to redistribute that wealth." That is a communist principle. Redistributing wealth. That is not a core function of the American government, the American way of life, the democratic, free society that we live in. in the United States, what separates us from most of the other countries on the planet is we have a competition, a competitive-based culture. It's all out there. If you want it, go out and get it. Work your tail off. You get what you work for. Some people have advantages. They're born into wealth, whatever, special talents. They rise to the top a little quicker. You're the extreme minority, but for the most part, you can get whatever it is you want in this country within reason if you're willing to work for it. And that competition is what makes this country a strong nation. As far as socialism goes, Ed Schultz used to be a conservative, but he says he went to the Democratic Party, to the liberal side of things, despite the fact that he opposes abortion and his party seems to love it, because he didn't think the Republicans cared about the poor. The difference is the Republicans don't treat government as a means to addressing people in need. They do it directly. People who live in the red states donate more of their personal income towards those in need than do those who live in highly populated metropolitan liberal areas. That's a fact. And the difference between the philosophies is the Democratic Party, the liberals, their perspective is if you're not throwing money at a situation, then you don't care about it. Where the Republican philosophy is get personally involved. Get directly involved. Go to a local church, a local homeless shelter, get your hands in there, meet people, see exactly where your dollars are going. Where the Democratic philosophy is throw money at it and hope that the government gets it right, votes on what needs to be voted on, and appropriates things correctly, which we all well know they do not do. It's better to get involved directly, put your personal money into it, because when you do it that way, when you see the efforts of your money being mishandled, you can get in and tell the people that you're giving your money to, either you fix your operation, or I'm going to find someone who manages the money that I give them better than you do. With taxation through the government, you don't have that option. You have to rely on a vote, and that's such a convoluted process that we're well informed about the fact that it does not work effectively. It's not efficient, it's not effective, it's a waste of money, and it's a poor use of Americans' resources. We didn't even used to have an IRS. Granted, that goes back a ways, all the way to 1862 to finance the Civil War. But it was recently as 1935, we did not have Social Security. And they're claiming that people depend on that for survival. Well, how did people survive up until 1935 without Social Security? How did it happen for over 100 years that this country actually functioned without Social Security? And we're putting billions into it, and we're complaining about benefits are going to go down, the retirement age is going to have to go up, over something that didn't even used to exist. It's a gift. And if you get anything from it, you should be thankful that you have that to complain about. And if you are in a position, or you put yourself in a position where you rely entirely on Social Security to get by, you have screwed up. You have failed. You have mismanaged your entire life, and you need to take responsibility for that. Socialism, communism, Marxism, etc., those are easy arguments to win because you can take the low road to get it accomplished. You can say, well, if you're not willing to give money to people who quote-unquote need it, you don't care. You don't care about old people. You don't care about people who don't have health care. You just don't care. And that is simply not the case. Just because you don't support government handouts doesn't mean you don't care about people who are legitimately in need. That's a key distinction. Legitimately in need. We've gotten used to entitlements. We've gotten used to demanding things. We even had a presidential candidate recently say that health care was a right. A right. Look at the word right and see if health care applies. What you have a right to do in this country, which a lot of people just squander, is you have the right to take care of your own health. If you are overweight, if you smoke, you don't have a thing to say about health care because you are actively destroying your own health through your gluttony or your laziness or your lack of willpower to get over an addiction. There are methods out there, and if you are determined about it, you can put an end to whatever it is your ailment is.